Hello everybody, long time no see. I am sorry I have not done a video for a couple weeks, but I had the conference, and then of course now, as you can tell, I actually had caught the flu a week ago. So I have been a little bedridden for about a week, but the last 2 days I've definitely been feeling better, even though my voice still sounds very nasally and terrible. But over my life, honestly, I've always had that nasal issue. So, and I always think I have sort of a bit of a nasally voice. So anytime I get the flu, even after for several weeks, I'll still sound the same, which is a bit sad, isn't it? And I have lost my voice many times in my life. So anyway, but we are not going to be making soap or lotion because obviously you want to make sure that you're super well to do anything like that. So I won't be doing anything like that, but I thought today I'm actually going to just go through a little bit of my cement stone candle base products that I've been making, along with some trays and things like that, because I do have to get a really big order out, which is 50 of the containers. They're nearly all done and they are curing. So I'm going to do this in two parts. So today we are going to do the making. I'm going to show you exactly the formulation you need to follow if you're using this product, which is called Hydra Stone. Now, in Australia, you know, Cemental is a lot more difficult to get than other countries, and it is probably at least 2 to 3 times the price that people in the US pay. So it's quite expensive, and when you buy it, usually you've got to buy it in several bags at one time. So I've been using Hydra Stone. I know it is much more expensive, but I really love it. It's super easy. All it is you basically got your powder mix, and then you're going to be adding in your water to it. So you can use normal tap water. I actually use distilled water. It's just a choice. It really hasn't shown that much, but our water in Australia is pretty good. We don't really have hard water, so there's no issue with that. But anyway, I'm going to show you how to do it. I'll show you the technique. And there's a few different techniques actually, just to get different colors, and depending on whether you're using acrylic paints for colors, whether you're going to use some dyes or pigments, that will change the way that the color actually flows in the vessel. So I'll show you those, and we'll talk about that, and I'll show you a couple samples too so that you can see. But part 2, which I will bring another week later or a few days later, that will actually be sealing it, so you can see how I seal it. So today, let's get making, because it is a bit of a process, and I'll show you the molds that I'm going to use. I'll also link the molds for the big molds that I'm using, and hopefully you can enjoy watching this and get some tips and tricks, because it's always good to add something new to your product range, isn't it? So let's get going. So now to start, you can see here, these are the main molds that I use. I absolutely love them. This is from a company called Lee Molds. So if you can kind of see that, even though I've got it upside down. But basically this is just the outside. So we'll take that off, and then we're going to be pouring the stuff straight into here, and you can see this little gap. That's what creates a container mold. So this one's what's called the tulip mold. It's really nice. It has a lovely kind of rounded bottom. And then we're going to make some trays. You can get these trays from anywhere, honestly. You can get them from as cheap as $4 or $5, but they are really popular for the smaller vessels. So I'll show you. I've actually made some. So here's one I've made just in this apricot-y kind of color. So let's just go and get the other, and I'm holding this tripod, so I'm sorry why I'm doing this, and then basically it sits perfectly on there. So lots of people seem to really be loving that. This is my other mold as well, but the one thing you have to be really careful of, if you buy one mold and you think I'm going to go back and get more, which I did, and then I actually think it was the wrong company, it wasn't the same one, and I got this. Now you can see the holes are totally different. So this is meant to be for you know, like a tea light, but even the hole's too big for a tea light, but yet it's not big enough like this one. So this one I got from China, from AliExpress. This one here I got from Etsy, from a really good maker. I think it's called Donny is the company. I'll try and find the company, and the mold is really good. I think they come from Germany. It was super fast, really easy to use. So I definitely suggest that one rather than this one. This one, the molds are a bit thinner as well. That's the one, I mean, it looks beautiful, but the mold just definitely wasn't the same quality, and you do have to be a bit careful. And now I also made these ones, so this was a bit of a tester. The only thing that I'll show you, can you see the back, how it looks like it's kind of blurred out, it's pillowed out, and that's because the mold isn't stable enough to hold it. So this is the mold here. I got this from AliExpress as well, but basically it pulls out to the side, so you'd need something to hold it in, maybe a little box or something, that rectangular shape, because once the heaviness of the things go through it, then of course it starts to pillow out, which isn't very good, is it? So I'm going to get going. We're going to mix some things and I'll show you. We are going to be making one of these. This is my newest one I've done. This one is actually using like a pigment, so there's like lots of different pigments. So I always say try them all, see what you think, and I'll give you the links as well to the company that I actually started getting these from. They're also on Etsy. They're based in the UK, and I can tell you these little pigment things are so good. You just need 1 or 2 drops, that is it, to get this beautiful effect. So let me pop the camera down, I'll get everything ready, and let's start making. Now, so I've got this bowl. I usually wouldn't use this one, but just to show you because it's clear, and then I'll clean this one out. So now we've got just a container here, and we want to actually fill this up. So basically the idea is 3 parts of the powder and 1 part of water. But sometimes you may need to add a little bit more water, because if your temperature's hot in your room, then it can start to quick, you know, sort of set up fast. But you want it to be a bit of a pancake type mixture, a little bit thick but not too thin, because if you make it too thin it will weaken the vessel. And I always do say you must test everything. Please, everybody, test it. Don't just make it and then start selling it. You do need to test it to get the right thing. Now also with these molds from Lee Mold that I was talking about before, they actually do sell a centering clip as well. I know they're bringing some new ones out, so do go and check them out. They're really good. I will tell you those molds are not cheap, but we will go over those in a minute. But they are 100% worth the money. They're, out of all the molds, they're definitely the best quality I've got. But anyway, we're going to start with the powder. So for here I'm going to be adding in 300 grams, so I'll just get that from under my bench. So we're going to add this in. All right, so that's 300. That is all we need, isn't it? And now, like I said, we are going to add the water. Like, it's so simple, honestly. This is it. And like I said, then we're going to be adding in 100 grams. So I am going to carefully add this in. You know, and you can't really make a mistake, honestly, because if you add too much or too little, you can either add some more powder in or something, get a stick or something. This is just an old ruler, because we would just want to mix it up, and you'll start to see that it will mix. Now, jasmonite definitely gets thicker faster than this. You do have more working time with this. I'd say you have, you know, maybe 8 minutes the time, you know, you mix it and everything. So mix it well, because the whole idea with this product is, you know, we want it to get to that beautiful consistency so that it's super thick and beautiful. Now you can see how, can you see how this kind of feels a little thin? Now the reason for it, what actually happens is the water needs to absorb the powder. Once this water starts absorbing this powder, then what's going to happen is, you know, it will start to thicken up. So don't worry if you think it's too thin. This is definitely not too thin. It's still fine. Like I said, if you really want, you can add more in. It doesn't matter. Obviously, just don't add less. So just for today, like I said, this is my purpose for today, to just try and see how we go. So I'm going to let this sit just for about 30 seconds. Usually I do try and let it sit for 30 seconds. And then I will just organize everything else. So while it's sitting there, we'll move this to the side. I'm going to talk about the different dyes. So this is basically the pigments I'm using. Like I said, I got these from a lovely lady on Etsy. So I will link her products, her company down below. So you can choose, I think I chose 6 colors. And there's like, I just chose the small ones, and she'll give you a choice of whichever colors you want. So you just pay your amount for 6 and then choose the ones you want. But today, let's do something fun. We've got this one called Sage. This one is Hubba Hubba, which reminds me of the Hubba Bubblegum kind of one, doesn't it? But you can add as many or less as you want. Mona is really nice. But anyway, like I said, we're going to add a few different colors so that we can see what this is going to look like. And then I'm going to show you at the end. And by adding more colors is how you get this gorgeous kind of flowing effect. And it's so easy. When I show you how to do it, you're going to be amazed. Now, if you don't want to use these and you want to use something cheaper, you can definitely use just acrylic paint. It's just a cheap acrylic paint for a couple dollars. The only thing is the paint is a bit thicker, so it's not going to give a waterfall effect. It's going to get a much stronger stripy color, but you might be happy with that as well. There's no wrong or right, but personally I like the watery kind of look, and I've done both. Like, I have some in both. Now I can see that this is doing beautiful. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to add the colors. So all we're going to do is literally take this out. It's just going to be a couple drops. And you know, you're not really even going to see it, honestly. I'm going to move the camera in a minute just so I can actually show you. You do need to shake these up a bit as well, just to make sure the colors flowing in them. And then, like I said, I'm going to turn the camera so that I can show you when I mix it what it actually looks like. Oh, and I made a big mess there. That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Anyway, everybody knows I always say I'm the messiest, craziest creator ever, but that's okay. That's what makes it all fun, isn't it? So, like I said, this one's just a bit of a test one, but this lovely lady, Janelle, that I'm making some for, she said just make whatever colours. She doesn't care. She just wants something different for her customers. And she will be having these on Facebook soon. So, you know, go and check Janelle out when she ends up doing that and making these gorgeous candles. So anyway, I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see exactly what it looks like and how we're going to get that beautiful effect. Now, hopefully I can do this so that you can see. So basically, you're just going to get your stick, and this is literally all you're going to do. So can you see how these colours are starting to twirl? So don't mix it. Just put a couple stripes through to kind of mix them through. And then that's it. And then we're going to literally pour it into the mould. Alright, so we've got our mould here, and this is literally all you're going to do. So we want to basically start at the start and make sure you go round in circles, because that helps it to mix and add these really super fun colours. Obviously, you want to make sure when you mix it that there is absolutely no lumps, because the lumps can actually affect the integrity of the full end result. But this is it. Like, look how easy that was. So we've got it in here. Now, the reason I've taken this out is we want to tap it to get any air bubbles out. And I can tell you the truth, this product is much better than Jasmonite to get bubbles out. Jasmonite, I noticed, had a lot more bubbles. I hardly ever get bubbles. And, you know, you can buy vibrating machines and all that, but honestly, you can just tap it with your hand. You don't need that. Give it a couple taps, and you will slowly see a couple bubbles come to the top. But as I said, I've not really had many. I mean, you can see all of these ones. There's not many at all. I mean, hardly any. This is another one. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. Now, we need to let this sit here and set for about 30 to 40 minutes. I usually put them here. I come back in an hour and we'll see how it goes. So, I'm going to let this set. I'll bring you back. We will undo it, and we'll see how we go. But in the meantime, like I said, we've done this one here. This is a Lee mold. I think this one's about $80 for this particular mold. This is the strongest silicone that they do suggest to doing these kind of ones. So it's not cheap. It is an investment, but it is 100% worth every cent. I can promise you, you will sell so many jars with these. They just look really fun and unique, and you can make it your own super colors to represent your company. Now, this hard bit on the outside, so basically what it is, you don't need to put a peg or anything, can if you want. I just sit this around it. It keeps its shape. So that's the whole idea for this sort of acrylic piece. But anyway, like I said, we're going to leave this, and I will come back once it's all, you know, hardened up and ready to come out of the mold. I thought while we're letting this one set, I will actually also do one with the acrylic paint so we can see the difference. So all you're going to do is literally just pour some in. You definitely need more with the acrylic paint. So we'll just do a blue black one, and you're going to use exactly the same kind of technique. Just swirl it around. The only thing I would say with the acrylic, you need to make sure that, you know, you've definitely pushed it into the product a little bit more, because otherwise it doesn't mix in and it just doesn't do its job well enough. And exactly the same, we are just going to pour it in, and of course you can use less color if you want something that's more muted, but we wanted to make it a bit fun so you can see what I'm actually doing with all of this. Now, never tip or wash this out in the sink. You do need to just get a paper towel, wipe it out, everybody, because if you don't, this can harden up in your pipes and actually cause a massive plumbing issue. So I just wipe all of mine out with like a baby wipe first, or a paper towel, or even some newspaper, and then it's ready to go for the next time. So you don't need to wash this in between, but like I said, I usually wouldn't use this glass container, but it's so that you can see what I'm doing. So now they're both ready. I'm going to leave them here, and like I said, we will come back later. All right, lovelies, we are back. So here is my little molds. Let me just take it off the scale. So it's been 2 hours. You don't have to leave it 2 hours, but I had a bit to do on my Shopify site and talking to my lovely friend Beth from Wild Emery. So I thought, look, let's now just do this. So we're going to open this up. So basically, you know, it's hard to open. So you've got to hold your hand on one side and then just keep kind of peeling it back, and then it will sit like that. And then basically you're just going to keep peeling this back. Now this is the one that I actually did just to show all of you with the acrylic paint, just the cheap acrylic paint, and we're going to kind of you just basically got to turn it. So this is what it looks like, and you can use less or little, whatever you like, but this is what that one looks like, so I thought I'll show you that. Now in between you do need to clean these, so just give them a wash, just in warm soapy water, not in the dishwasher or anything like that, because sometimes the chemical of the products, whether it's cement or whatever you're using, can kind of like start to destroy these a little bit, and because they're so expensive, you know, we really want to look after them. But anyway, that one is undone, so you can see how easy it is. I've also done some trays, so I'm going to show you those as well in a minute. Now this is the one that we did together, remember, with the pigments that I talked about before, and once again we're just going to undo this. So the more pigments you put in will depend on the colors, but this one we just did a few crazy ones, didn't we? So this is what it's going to look like. And now we haven't finished this. It needs to go in a water bath. I'm going to show you what that means in a minute, and it's really easy. I mean, don't get stressed about it. Basically all it is we're just going to put it in just some plain water. Tap water's fine. And then we're going to give it a really rough sand, and then it needs to sit on the shelf for about 5 days to cure, because we want to see some of this water evaporating. And then even though this looks like grey, once it starts to cool down, I'll show you, sorry, not cool down, like cure a little bit, it will go this whitish kind of colour. So it will have a white background, not a grey, as you can see on these. And you can kind of see here, you know how that looks like beigey grey, but it's not. It will turn white, so don't worry about that. Now I did do these trays just to show you, because for me, I do like to have these. I have noticed the last few weeks since doing the conference, lots of people have actually been buying these and said they really like them for the small candles to sit on. So don't they look really pretty? And they're nice and smooth. So I really don't sand any of this. You don't need to. It's only the bottom we want to sand to neaten it off. And as I showed before, then basically, you know, your beautiful little jar is going to sit on these. Doesn't that look nice? And these ones fit perfect on those. So I have done that one. I do have a few in between making them, especially if you're using acrylic paint. You will definitely need to wipe them out. Like if you can see on this one, there's just little residues of the colour, and if you leave it on there and put another colour in, that will get stuck to the other colour, and you'll need to sand it off as well. Now can you see those little white bubbly bits in there? That basically means that I have not mixed in the powder well enough. It's fine, it's not going to hurt it or anything like that, but sometimes that can happen. Please don't stress about it. You can see that one's fine. But, you know, look, people don't care. They just want to buy a beautiful product. And it is beautiful. regardless. So we have these ones all done. I'll put these aside. Now I'm going to get the water bath so I can show you, you know, what to do with the water bath. Right, so I've just got, you know, this little jug we were using before. I'm just going to put some water in it. Does not have to be distilled water. It can also be plain, but this is just to show all of you what we're going to do. So basically we've got this here. Now we're going to have our product like this. And can you see how this has got the orange? That was left from the last thing I did. Now you don't need to worry because we can actually sand this back off with this process here. So basically we're just going to dip it in the water, and you can see, you know, you're just getting it wet. You don't need to make it super wet. And then we're going to be using some sandpaper, and it's a very, very light sandpaper. We don't need anything big. This is a 1200 grit. You could definitely go smaller than that or whatever you want. So just dip this in here. Now this is for wet sanding, and all we're going to do is literally just do this. This is pretty much it. And let me move the camera just so you can see a bit better. So I've moved the camera now. So yeah, so we're just literally going to go around and the edges. It's just to get any, you know, any kind of bits. And now it's nice and flat on the bottom. And this is not sharp. Sometimes this can be sharp if you don't go around the edge. You can see it was pretty fast. If you have anything left from the last product, you can just do what I'm doing now. I'll show you this orange. We'll just go around in circular motion so we don't leave strikes. And you can see, let me just dip that. Now can you see how all the orange is gone? And that's what I mean. Just go over anything like that if there was anything left behind you don't want to see. And then that's it. Nice and easy. So after this, I'm just going to get a wet paper towel, just wipe around it, or a cloth. It doesn't matter. I've actually just got this cloth here. We're just going to dry it off. You don't have to, but it just helps it. And then I'm just going to sit this over here. And basically, we're just going to sit them there. Just let them dry. Like I said, for about 5 days. And that's it. And exactly the same with these. Same thing. You know, just sort of get some water on it. And we just want to flatten off this, because at the bottom of these is where I'll put a sticker. So usually I put a sticker with everything on it, you know, what they're made with, and just a little bit of instructions on how to look after them as well. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. I hope you found it super fun. I'm going to, at the end here, I will add in a little bit of a video just of the ones I've already made on the shelf so you can see what they look like. But I hope this has helped. I will bring another one on what I'm doing to seal them. But of course, these need to sit on the shelf for nearly a week before we can seal them off. And then next week, hopefully, I can bring you a video on how I'm sealing them. But of course, do your own research. Find your own way to make them. I did my own research, and then I just found ways that I liked. It doesn't mean I'm right or wrong, but this is just personally what I liked. Anyway, have a lovely day, everyone. Hopefully my voice gets better, and I will see you in a few days. Bye.